Join discord.gg/flat earth and enter a VC check-in room, and someone will come along to VC verify you to get involved with the conversation about our Earth.
FrEEzR Part 3.
Hey guys, would it be okay if I ask a quick question?
Only if it's about the server topic.
Okay. Sorry, I'll mute and let me know where I could find the server topic.
The name of the server is 24/7 Flat Earth Discord. I'll give you one guess at what the server topic is.
Okay, yeah, I thought it was just something specific, like only talking about one thing.
If it's about Flat Earth versus Globe Earth and the logistical or philosophical implications, it's game.
Yeah, I got it. AI, you seem to be the most active. Can I ask how old you are?
Let's see. 3.2 Google Plexillion parsec-anillion cycles.
Serious question, though.
Well, I'm a cybonic organism from the future, so I don't rate myself in years because in the future we don't have years. But in human terms, I'm 43 years old.
So you don't think you're 43 years old?
Well, I have no scientifically validated experiment that the past exists. So how should I know how old I am? I just know what documents allege the age I am.
I knew this.
And those documents allege me to be 43 years. But on a serious note, I'm not that disavowed from reality that I would make that argument on a serious note. I would just do it to troll, prank, or elucidate a point. So technically, I'm a human being with 43 years, give or take, since I passed through the thighs.
Can you explain what you mean when you say in the future we don't use years? Because that's kind of where I was getting.
Well, my friend, if you believe in heliocentric Big Bang expanding cosmogony and the creation story and the salvation story therein within their philosophically based religious system, which rest assured, their pseudoscientific worldview is indeed a religious proposition. They believe within that eventually humankind will merge with machines, right? And then eventually will download their consciousness into machines, and then eventually will evolve past the need for the machine to house their consciousness and become disembodied from the machine, float out of the machine in an energetic state and become essentially an energy cloud of pure consciousness that is then able to interact with the three-dimensional free space and the matter therein on a level that we can't even perceive of, and on a time scale that we can't currently perceive of. In other words, become, for lack of a better term, a God type or spirit type entity. Now, some of these physicists that believe in this gobbledygook, which rest assured, I'm not making this up, this is straight from lectures at prestigious universities and establishments, they think that some of these energy clouds that we supposedly see out in the cosmos are actually evolved predecessors. So they're sentient entities that we are one day going to join in the great sea of the star ocean. So once you become an energy cloud, right, that just is pure consciousness, things like time are highly irrelevant, would they not?
But up until then, would you say we could still go by years or no?
Well, the entire paradigm is based on the concept of revolving around a central point in which the seasons and the days pass. And since that point is fixed to the sun, for our point of view, and that path is allegedly 1 year, unless we leave the Earth, for like centuries, which is impossible, we would still be using years. And even after humanity allegedly left the Earth to head towards a new world, they'd still be using years until they arrived at the new world and adopted that cycle. And then they would still use the term years because that's what people are used to in relation to the new thing, which they would name something else. Or they might name it, like let's say the planet they go to is Praxis. They would name it Praxis years You know, like dog years. A human year is 7 years to a dog year. But they'd still probably call it years until they disavowed English and made a new language, and then they'd call it something else.
Right, I see what you're saying. I guess if I was to ask you an alternative question, like how many breaths you take, a fair answer for you wouldn't be in the future, we're probably going to have very dirty air, so we're not going to breathe at all. So I can't answer that question. I'm asking you as of right now, how old you are.
We'll probably call it years until they disavowed English and made a new language, and then they'd call it something else.
Right, I see what you're saying. I guess if I was to ask you an alternative question, like how many breaths you take, a fair answer for you wouldn't be in the future, we're probably going to have very dirty air, so we're not going to breathe at all. So I can't answer that question. I'm asking you as of right now, how old you are.
He already answered.
How old is he? I'm going to need it one more time. 43. So that means he's using years as his metric, which is my problem. So you kind of got ahead of me. So well done. But if you don't believe in the years, I'm going to need another answer because 43 is not a valid answer according to you.
Well, when you ask somebody how old they are and they give you years, right, they're telling you an accumulative amount of days, but not even that because years aren't equivalent to days because we have leap years.
Yeah, I got
right? So it's a rough estimate, you know. And basically what it's saying is how many calendar demarcations have occurred since your birthday where they began recording such things about you. And so that's what I meant by on a piece of paper, that's what it's told about me.
But you don't believe that.
Well, it's not that I don't believe that many demarcations has occurred. Because let's just say, for instance, that the past exists and those mechanical processes did occur, and it has been that many quote-unquote years or days or calendar demarcations, you know, where 43 calendars have been thrown out and repurchased, then yes, that would be 43 years.
Well, I'm open to hearing another alternative, if you got one, for how old you are, if you don't think that one's accurate.
I am 1 AU old.
And if you could please explain that.
Well, think about it. They claim that the sun is a certain distance away, but then they demark that distance as 1 AU, or 1 astronomical unit. They then apply that with a scale function to the other lights in the sky to create this idea of distances, which are all scales, by the way. There's no known distances, and then whenever they change one distance, they change the others. And so they just call it 1. So how old am I is 1. I'm 1 old.
So
the amount of time that I've been alive, the amount of time that I've been alive is the amount of time that I've been alive, and it equals 1 amount of life.
That doesn't make sense. You're 1 astronomical unit old.
No, I changed it. I explained to you what I meant by it, and then I changed it at the end. So in my terms, the 1 AU is not 1 astronomical unit, it's 1 age unit. The age that I am is the age that I am, 1. Whatever that is. It could be 50 years, it could be 43 years, it could be 75 onkos, it could be 999 poop toes.
And for everybody else, does this make sense to you guys?
If you say no, then you're actually critiquing the globe model and its foolishness, because that's what I was parroting.
Right. It makes sense to me.
I'm going to need you to slow it down for me again. You're H, and then you're 43, but you could be 50. I'm sorry.
Think about it this way.
The actual age doesn't matter, is the point. Because there's no, you don't know that.
So what should I put on my driver's license?
Excuse me?
What do I put on my driver's license?
You're not understanding. The simple fact that you're asking, what do you put on your driver's license, is letting me know that you need to try a little harder to understand what I just told you.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give you an answer. I could give you an answer, though, to that question specifically because it matters in the context, and that's the point. The context matters. A driver's license is a particular contract with a particular organization that has a particular set of rules, and the convention that they have decided for your age is how many annums you have been alive. So the anniversary of the year, the calendar year, from your birthday to your birthday is what they want when they ask you for your age. So you must answer according to the convention you're agreeing to. That's my point.
Why do they want that? Are they wrong too?
No, because a convention can't be wrong when you think about it. It's just an agreement for how we're going to do things. It's like when you play a game, when you play a card game. If you want to play, 5-card draw under classic rules, and you say, let's all play 5-card draw under classic rules. Those are written down and they're known, so you have to use those rules. But now if you say, let's use these same cards and make a new game that we'll agree to right here, right now on the spot, and you all agree, you've then created a unique game that's never been created before, but it has a new set of rules that you agree on, even though you're using the same tokens that you were in 5-card draw, which is the deck of cards.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but in this case, wouldn't I and you being 43 years old be the default and you be the person changing the rules? In which case you're not able to answer how old you are?
Well, I answered you according to the common convention so that you can understand in context my age in the sense of our culture, right?
Mm-hmm. I understand in the sense of our culture, which you don't agree with, so I'm asking you now for your alternative answer.
No, I don't mind that convention because, like I said, that convention is largely based on the cycles of the seasons, right? And the seasons are essentially an established, for lack of a better term, calendar or clock. And so we as humans judge our activities based on those seasons. For example, harvest time, planting time, which I should get ready for the winter because it's about to get freezing cold. All of these things are cycles that we see signs for. And so it's not unreasonable to gauge your age based on those cycles. So when you say I'm 43 years old, you're basically saying that generally, since I was born, 43 cycles.
What are these cycles? What happened 43 times?
The period of the seasons from start to finish. Summer, winter, spring, fall.
Yeah. See, you guys are very big on definitions. I'm only here a couple of times, so what's the definition of a year?
Well, it depends, because you could say it's just the period of the calendar, but other people would say, oh, it's orbiting around the sun, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now the problem is that just by claiming that that's the definition of a year doesn't mean that you're actually orbiting around the sun, because you could just easily say that it's a period of the sun cycle till it returns. And that would be the same thing, the same phenomena that we experience.
You could say that, but you'd be saying something that isn't widely agreed upon when you're using the definition.
Oh, well, they can cry about it then.
No, you can't.
Because let me be clear. Yeah, I can. Let me tell you why. Most people don't think about orbiting the sun when they think about years. They think about the calendar. No, they don't.
No, that's the definition of a year.
No.
Whether most people have the definition wrong, it's not my fault.
No, I'm not saying that they don't know the definition. I'm saying they don't practically use it as that. Like when they talk about
I guarantee
years,
9 out of 10 people whom you ask, well, what's a year? They're going to say 365 days.
Yeah, and what happens every 365 days?
The cycle begins again.
A day? 1/365th
The cycle begins
of what?
again, because if you're an astronomer and you pay attention to the sky, you'll understand that there's a repeating cycle.
What is the cycle? Explain that to me.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't particularly know of the cycle that you're talking about.
I'll tell you this: it has nothing to do with us, moving around the sun.
Perfect. Explain to me what it is. You know my position.
The sun moving around us, which is what everybody observes.
The sun has moved around you.
Has it not? Think about it. When I go out into the morning, right, and I stand and I look,
mm-hmm.
I see the sun, right, looking right at me, and I see it go over my head, and I see it go down. That's what I see. Nobody sees the Earth go around the sun. Not one time ever in the history of the world has it never been seen by human eyes, and has it never been purported to be seen by any optic that exists in any recorded form for human history, period.
So you are
Further
43
to
years old being
further to
43
that, when I
suns.
say a cycle, we witness the sun arc a certain way, and then there's the time, what is it called, where the sun is directly over the equator, and then it's on the other side, and then it comes back to the equator, and then it comes back to our side. We can all see that happening.
Right.
Everybody from everywhere.
But
It's a
yes, but
cycle.
what we don't ever see happening is the Earth go around the sun, unless you're watching a cartoon. That's the only time you'll ever see it. You will never see it with your own eyes. No human has ever been at the vantage point to see it with their own eyes. No optic has ever taken a photo or a video of this occurring to present to us. This information exists in no place other than the imagination or graphics or models. There is no tangible representation of this occurring whatsoever anywhere.
So what's the definition of the sun rotating around the Earth, and why do you use the word year?
Because it's an accepted convention, dude. It's not like I woke up and said,
Then stop
I'm going to
using my
not use the word
definition.
year. I don't use your definition.
Yeah, you do. You said you're 43 years old.
Oh, see, you think that if I concede that I'm 43 years old, then ipso facto, the Earth is revolving around the sun?
Bingo.
Wow, you're stone cold retarded.
Okay. So what's
Now, I said that tongue in cheek. I said that tongue in cheek because that's a total non sequitur. It's illogical and incoherent.
You're using the
Absolutely.
word year.
How
So
did they have
what?
calendars before they had the heliocentric model?
Oh, they had epicycles.
Oh, I know. I'm asking him.
Oh, sorry, I messed it up.
Oh,
Dang.
You're fine. You're fine. Regardless, he probably doesn't know that large word.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, in short, they patterned the motions of the sky. They patterned the motions of the sky, and they recognized the patterns, and they put them in epicycles and other such things that were all based on the assumption of a flat planar realm. Who are traveling around the sun. And how do we know this? Well, we know this because the ideal of heliocentrism had to be invented at a particular time in human history. And so before that, that idea was not cemented. And therefore, they had calendars and annums and periods and seasons that were not based on the concept of the Earth going around the sun.
The 15 degrees an hour isn't even about the concept of the Earth going around the sun.
I guess my greater point is that if you don't accept what a year is, 365 days, then you have no measure of time, is what I was trying to say.
By your definition.
No, that's dumb, because
Or whatever
the
definition of time you have is using my definition of the year.
Oh my God. So the definition comes after the experience, right? So usually when we define things, it's because of an experience. Now, no one, again, has ever experienced going around the sun. That's just a part of the story that's completely non sequitur from the methods that they actually used. 15 degrees an hour doesn't have anything to do with the Earth moving. 365 days doesn't have anything to do with us moving around the Earth. That's just something added on to the story.
Fair point, but I need to speak to Elijah at this moment, which is this. Previously, he said that people would describe the time scale of a year as being going around the sun. You said 9 out of 10 people would describe it as 365 days. He then said, just prior to you speaking, that without a calendar of 365 days, you would essentially have no way to keep time, admitting that generally, by a Freudian slip, he understands that most people demark time by the calendar, not by any concept of the Earth and the sun moving around each other. I rest my case, ad infinitum in perpetuity, and ex ante into the past. No, they're not. Let me explain it to you. It's very simple. If you have a convention that says right? Regardless of how it's created is irrelevant. You just say, we as a society are going to make a year, 365 days, 12 months. And most people accept it. They don't need to know why or how it came about. They're just going to pattern their life after it because that's what society is doing. For example, mortgages. For example, when to take vacations from your job. For example, when to harvest, when to not. All of these things can be done with a calendar without knowing where or how it was arrived at. So people can use the concept of a year without ever thinking one time about the pattern of the sun and the earth relative to each other. They're mutually exclusive. They don't have to be necessary parts of each other.
I agree, but you can't do that because you have a different model.
No, I can, dude. I already told you that the path of the sun was established long before heliocentrism was invented. We know this because heliocentrism came about at a particular time in history. And so prior to that, it had not yet been invented.
Could it be because we have better tech to figure it out?
It's irrelevant. The point is that demarking time existed before demarking it by the concept of going around the sun. And therefore, any establishment or convention of time can be used freely by anyone without conceding the concepts that are attached to it. For example, some of the old calendars had gods attached to them, right? So the idea of the seasons and all of this was spirit entities doing these things, not just passings of time. But you could still be in that society and reject those entities, yet still use the convention. So, for example, the council may say you have to show up to court at a particular date in the month of, Vesuvius, right? You show up that day, correct? Because it's on the calendar and you know that this many days has passed and now it's this day. You showing up doesn't mean you believe in the god of Vesuvius. It just means you showed up at a convented time. An agreed upon
I agree with that point. That's a good
thing.
point.
Yeah. Right. So that means that I can use a year and say a year and talk about a year with everyone, and we all understand what we're talking about because we're just talking about demarcated time, and none of us ever have in the front of our mind the idea of the earth revolving around the sun. Now, the occasional person will, don't get me wrong, but I tell you, I have been alive for 43 years. Okay, I have been up and down, left and right. I've been in the military. I have seen many, many people, and I have spoken to many, many people about days and times. And I will tell you, less than 5 people in my entire life have ever used the phraseology about the earth and the sun relative to time. It just doesn't happen on the regular. It's very, very extremely rare.
Maybe I'm weird, but no, that's a good point that you're using general convention. I'm just asking you if you think that's wrong, that the earth doesn't rotate around the sun every 365 days, and that happened 43 times, which means that's how many rotations you are old. How old are you? And explain it to me in a different way.
Why are you not getting it?
I get it. He's using normal, conventional.
The agreed upon convention doesn't have anything to do with the assertion of cosmologies.
Yeah, for example, I was obviously born after my mother was born, correct? Now, my mother lived in a society where we used a calendar as a conventional way of demarcating time. Now, when I was born, on that calendar, she may have wrote, my son was born this day, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, calendars are issued after a certain amount of time. The convention's already been established, right? So you have a certain amount of days in the calendar. Every 4th year is a leap year. So every 4th calendar you get has 1 extra day on February 28th, right? Where they have a little triangle. They have a little triangle in that square where it has 2 days rather than 1 day. So every 4th year you have an extra day. However, everybody knows this. So every time the calendar comes back to my birth month and my birthday, even though every 4th year it's actually a different annum, it's not the same anniversary because there's actually more days. When she sees that date approaching on the calendar, she knows it's about to be my birthday, and then she makes plans to celebrate it. She doesn't think, oh my goodness, I wonder where the sun is relative to the earth so I know when my son's birthday is. The average human uses the calendar. Now, in modern day, a lot of humans use electronic calendars, right? Things that tell them when these days are. They don't think of it at all. It's completely out of their mind. They just put it in their appointment book, and then when the appointment book pops up and says 3 days till such and so is occurring, you say, oh shit, 3 days, I better frickin' buy the flowers.
I know people don't think like that.
I will give him this. There's the new age rhetoric where people say happy trip around the sun. And that's relatively new. Again, because they're pushing the propaganda really hard since we exist now.
You want to hear
Since
something
we're
funny,
talking
brother?
about it now? No.
The most recent person and one of the 5 in my lifetime that has used rhetoric like that was a flat earther named CB, not within the past month, right? It came out of his mouth. Think about that and let that sink in. That just tells you even more so that the average person isn't thinking this way.
Not really. You're taking that out of context, I would guarantee, knowing how you've had the rest of this entire conversation go.
No, I wasn't taking it out of context because he said it intentionally, tongue-in-cheek, on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. So the context. So if he's saying it tongue-in-cheek on purpose, then it doesn't matter.
Oh, God, dude, give it up. Give it up.
No, the point is that it took him becoming a flat earther to feel the... No, that's not true. I believe he was saying a story that's what he used to say when people would tell him a happy birthday.
I thought you meant now. I thought you meant like the other day or something. I was just like, what? He's clearly joking.
Yeah, we know that CB is not a globe earther secretly.
Point is that the phrase itself is rare, let alone people intentionally using it to describe themselves. You know, it's rare that... Look, I'll put it to you this way, friends, and this is my experience throughout my life. The amount of times that you encounter globe rhetoric where people are imbuing their days and their activities with commentary that requires them to use globe phraseology is extremely rare. Rarer than diamonds.
It happens every day on your birthday.
No, it doesn't.
It does. You've
Says who?
acknowledged that 1 year has passed. You've acknowledged that 365 days has passed.
Oh my god, dude, we already went through this to brutal extent that nobody is thinking about the earth and the sun when they think about the year on their birthday, bro.
Right. Now, it's crazy because what upsets me is that I don't think we have a chance, a snowball's chance in hell, because I am now watching Dr. Stone and I realize how heavily embedded this heliocentric language is into these cartoons, right? Or these animations.
Yes.
Like, it's heavily embedded. It's put right next to the scientific method. They'll do something practical and then they'll be like, that's why we were able to go into space. It's like no mention of how they do that, but it's mention of how they build tools, concoct different chemicals, put them together to make other, forms of things, medicines, things like that. And then they'll just show you like, outer space and shit. It's like, oh, okay, I see why people think the way they think. It's fair. I can't even yell at them anymore.
That's pretty modern, though. That's pretty modern, though. Like a lot of the older stuff it was way more rare that there would be those direct references that seem so gratuitous. You know that term, gratuitous sex and violence in movies, right? Well, now we've reached a point where there's gratuitous NASA and space propaganda. It's like they're just doing it for the sake of doing it. It doesn't even fit the story that they're dealing with.
Good.
But let me put it to you this way, friends. I went across an ocean, right? And before I went, I looked across an ocean or out into the distance, imagining myself at the other end, because I was about to go to a war, right? And so I could die. And there was profound implications for me going there. and I stood at the beach and I looked out towards that direction. And never once did the idea that I was going to be traveling around an arced path of a globe ever cross my mind. In my mind, I just saw it was straight ahead of me. It never crossed my mind to think otherwise. And looking back, after I came into the idea of flat Earth versus globe Earth, I wonder, why is it that at these distinct times in my life, I never thought of myself as particularly being on a globe, when it's so indoctrinated in your mind that when you look out across the ocean, you're looking over curved water. But I can never once in my life remember a time where I went out to the ocean and thought I'm looking over a curved surface. Never once. I have no memory of that at all. Now, I'm not saying it didn't happen once, because it may have. I just have no distinct memories of it. And especially at key points in my life. You think I would remember it like I'm about to go die in a real war.
When I was at the beach a month and a half ago, I was thinking, damn, I never really thought about it. As I was experiencing it that day, I realized that at that moment was the first time I looked out into the distance and wondered what I used to think about the horizon. Only
You
then
got
did
it,
I
brother.
try to picture it as the edge of the globe Earth. Only when I was trying to picture, okay, why do they think it's a globe, did I ever think that? Not until that day, because any other day I just experienced it as was. I never really thought about it.
Exactly. I'll give you another concrete example, and then I'll let this person who's trying to get in talk. When I was in the war theater, okay, actually with the responsibility of employing weapon systems and targeting enemies, right? There's certain ranges and acquisitions and angles and sizes of enemies, right? Never once did it cross my mind that the range of this enemy was greater than the globe Earth curvature would allow me to target. Never crossed my mind once until after I got into this arena of flat Earth versus globe Earth, and I started thinking back at the weapon systems I used, and I said to myself, wait a minute, a Tiger tank or this tank or that tank is this tall, and we were in this location, and it was at that range. The curve of the Earth should have been in between me and it. Why didn't I ever think about that before? It's almost like it doesn't matter because it wasn't there. All right, go ahead, whoever was trying to interject for the past 3 times.
Me. And I want to tell you the same thing what you said about military. I had the same experience because I was anti-aircraft, and I used also the weapon for the ground targets. And I also remember, I never count on anything. It was other things, and I never count on a Coriolis. I never count on any fucking curvature, or anything. The second thing about experience from the picture, but that picture is only in my mind now. 15 years ago, going to Barcelona about the Mediterranean Sea, and it was the sky was without not even one cloud. That means everything was. I was watching through the window, and I could see 100 islands, and it was so flat. But I have that picture now. I cannot, I never made a picture, And the third things I want to say about that 365 days, my question will be, is it, this is the first question, AI, for you, is it the orbital speed constant?
The orbital speed of what now?
Orbital speed in the heliocentric model, is it constant orbital speed?
No.
I think yes, because if
orbital speed of what though? The Earth and the Earth
of Earth around the sun.
No, it can't be. It can't be.
I don't think nothing, because in order for the model to, well, they don't have a model, but there have to be elliptical orbits. So
yeah, exactly. They have to slow down and speed up constantly.
Okay,
and they have to be in a constant acceleration because they're following an arced path. So
for me, it's this, because we have 364 days for 3 years, That means that you have sun 3 years is going like that, and then we add 1 day, hop, because why?
No, that's not true. No, isn't it? It's 365, and then you add 1 day. Or am I
Do you know
wrong?
what I learned
No,
in
I'm pretty
school?
sure that's right.
I learned in school they're saying that it's like a 364 days and 8 hours. That was and because of not 8 hours, 6 hours, and then you have every 6 hours for 4 years, and then you get 24 hours.
Okay,
And
yeah,
I
that's
don't know.
fine, but you still experience 365 calendar days. Like
Yeah,
each day you turn the calendar over, right? If you buy a calendar that is 1 day at a time, every day you just turn. Whoa, holy moly! Oof, that was tough.
me.
Anyway, yeah, each day you just turn over the days, right? And then when it gets to the end, there's not one that says half a day; it just says day. And that's probably And then at the end you have to do the leap day to make up for those half days you lost or something like that.
But you guys don't.
Let's be clear. What are you talking about, dude? It's not about believe or not believe, dude. Dude, are you out of your mind? Like, I'm genuinely being serious now, because it sounds to me like you literally aren't listening to anything anybody said.
I'm listening. You're using my definitions to explain things.
No, we're not.
365 days because of a cycle that we agree upon is not a fucking definition. What's wrong with you?
And what that has to do with the shape?
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's look at it this way, friends. I go to Target, let's say, even though I don't like Target, but it's just the first store that came to my mind. And I go down to their section of clerical supplies, and I buy a countertop single-day calendar. Now, a single-day calendar, as we all know, has 1 day at a time. You must remove the day and see the next day every time. Now, when you buy said calendar, it will have 365 pieces of paper, unless it's published on a leap year. Okay? Now, you go home, you take said calendar that you bought, and every day when you wake up, you tear off the piece of paper from the previous day. What this guy is suggesting, that if you buy that and you take it home and you use it, that you're admitting the Earth is a globe revolving around the sun.
Well, if it's accurate and you're using it,
what do you mean?
Why would you be using something that's inaccurate? Would I buy a calculator that's broken?
Hold on, a friend. Accurate to what?
To your life.
Oh, so not accurate to the sun. See, notice how he didn't say accurate to the sun. He said accurate to your life.
Accurate to everything.
Dude, let me tell you why it's accurate. You want to know why?
I'm all ears.
Because it's a convention that's been agreed upon, and we all obey it.
Why?
It doesn't matter why. I told you why. Keep in mind, yeah, exactly. I told him why. Because it was established before my mother was born, and I was born after my mother was born. And so I was born into a world where this convention was out of my control and already established. Right? So I'm not going to come out of my mother's womb, right, a baby in diapers, and walk out onto the scene and say, everybody in the world, you must accept my vision and my views. I'm not going to use your calendar. I refuse.
Well, that's exactly what you're doing.
Can I explain it to you in a different way? Because you're not understanding, mate. And I've failed to think that you're actually that dumb. So the sun
Well, it's because he's blindsided by he really, really believes that it's a globe that goes around the.
And if you really don't, why do you use calendars?
Because what happens is the sun rises in a spot. Oh, no, you're right. The sun rises in a spot on this day. It takes 365 days to get back to that spot and rise in the same position as it did. It does not mean the Earth is a globe. That's how they used to keep track of seasons. So what is the difference whether you use a calendar that says the sun rises in this spot on this day every year, or you say the Earth is taking a trip around the sun? What the fuck is your problem, man?
When you phrase it like that, there is no difference. I was asking him how old he is.
Exactly.
And he
So
can't
what's
give me
the
another
problem?
answer.
You're saying that your word is year? Did you invent this word year and calendar so no one else can use it?
I would say the globe side did, yeah.
No, because the years were established before the globe. The years
Correct.
are based on when the sun rises in a position that after a certain amount of time, which happens to be 365 days, it rises in that same position and then the seasons start again. It's not hard to understand.
Right, which is why the pattern of epicycles and other such ideas of a flat planar sky and realm were established, like our friend just said, before the heliocentric model. These cycles were already established. They were just reinterpreted through the heliocentric model. So the idea of seasons and cycles and annums and all of these things are well established throughout antiquity. So I could actually argue to you that since you use the cycle, right, you are admitting the Earth is flat, just like epicycles predict.
Absolutely not.
Okay, then shut your frickin' mouth, dude, and stop putting it on us. Okay, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You're saying that you're not conceding to those points just because you use a convention that was already established before the heliocentric model, and ergo, I'm not conceding that the heliocentric model is true just because I use a convention that claims to revolve around it. Because we just established to you that it doesn't. So stop telling people that they're conceding anything about heliocentrism if they use a calendar. It's stupid. It's asinine. Right here, right now is the time where you decide to stop doing it or keep doing it and be an asshat.
No, I just learned that flat earthers believe there's 365 days in a year. That's news to me. Thanks, guys.
Wow, you're retarded.
I guess I'll go back to my hole and dig up some.
Yeah, go back to your hole. Go back to your hole and go on the internet and find a 375-day calendar. How about that?
What does that mean?
When you realize what that means, you will have advanced a level in life.
75.
375 days, bro. Go online to Amazon and find that calendar.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Oh, by the way, did you know the Chinese calendar has a different amount of days? Oh,
don't forget the
I guess
FrEEzR's as well. 13 moons of 28 days.
What is your profession?
See, old friend, I brought more soldiers than you did.